Footy Vlogs. This is a 2-game First Division semi-finals. Treaty took on Waterford United. I said Waterford United again. Waterford FC, apologies. And Longford took on Galway in the other game. Guys, we'll start with Longford against Galway. The first game was in Bishopsgate on Wednesday night, and it finished Longford Town 2, Galway United 2, and there was nothing really in the game. Adiemo scored twice for Longford, 28th minute and 54th. Mikey Rowe off the bench for Galway at half time, scored in the 49th, and then equalised again in the 61st minute. Like, the 3-0 scoreline today doesn't suggest that it was kind of a walkover for Galway, because it was 1-0 right up to the 90th minute. And unfortunately, I didn't catch any of the highlights of this, but like, Mikey Rowe again off the bench at half time for Bashanhiri scored the crucial second, followed up by Rob Manley to get the third. And as I said, the results almost suggest that the game was more towards Galway, but 1-0 up to the 90th minute. It seemed tight again. Longford missing Craven, Barnett, and Sam Verdon and Barnett on the bench. But with them on the bench, it would suggest that they'd be carrying a few injuries, and obviously Craven's out for the season. Do you think that might have been the ultimate factor of Galway getting the results over the two legs?
I think, yeah, when the game is that close, the missing the star players for Longford really hurt them. But I did kind of have a suspicion that when the game at Bishopsgate was 2-2, that Galway, with home advantage in the packed DC Park, might have just had enough when push came to shove, that they might have had just enough that they close it out against Longford. As you said, the 3-0 scoreline is unfortunate for Longford, because even with the missing players, it was still a very tight game, and or right up until the 90th minute, it really could have gone either way.
Yeah, Gavin, obviously John Colville would be delighted. He's into another playoff final. He got there in the first season when he was at Galway. So he'd be more than happy. And his brief is really to get Galway up, and that's one further step for him to actually getting them to the promised land, isn't it?
Definitely, Keith. And I suppose, as I've said, and you always joke about me knowing John and all that, and I really didn't think that they'd get over the two legs, but he's pulled it out of the bag, and I'm sure Sean would know this himself. But this is where, I suppose before today's game, I suppose looking at it from a Waterford point of view, I would have been a lot more, confident that Waterford will go up automatically or through winning it. But I think it's a dangerous game now in this sense. Galway getting a 3-0 result, I think whatever John done, he's obviously got the lads up and running again, and he obviously must have given them a good kick up the backside and told them get their act together. But it's a different animal now going into the Waterford game, because as you said, this is all. John's the type of fellow, yourself, is that it's going to be defensive against Waterford, and if he has to play 5 in midfield and one fella up front and play, if it's a horrible game to watch, it's going to be a dangerous game for Waterford, and I think John will be happy with especially with the result today, winning 3-0.
Sean, Gavin mentioned that Coffey may have given the Galway players a kick up the backside, but you don't really need that in a playoff, do you?
No.
Your self-motivation should be there itself.
No, yeah, look, the prize is promotion, and any player that can't recognise that really shouldn't be in your team. I think this is really where experience comes in, and Caulfield has the experience to know that football is a results business. As Gavin said, if Caulfield has to play like the most horrible defensive game of football, that's completely unwatchable. He will do it if it gets him the result, and it's definitely something that worries me as a Waterford fan going into Friday's game, because I think we would struggle to break them down.
Yeah, so again, we mentioned that the pressure was on Caulfield, and he has got through. The pressure wasn't really on Longford as such. They were back down last season, and look, they wouldn't have been expecting very much this season. Obviously, Gary Cronin's first year, so unfortunate for Longford. Galway move on. And we move on to Treaty against Waterford. Sean, you were in Markets Field on the other night. A comfortable 4-1 win, but again, it doesn't really suggest what happened in the game. Obviously, Waterford 2-0 up and cruising. Junior then missed a penalty just before half time to make it 3 and almost seal the tie as such. Conroy comes on in the 52nd minute, gets booked in the 53rd, and then Enda Curran scores a penalty in the 62nd, and it's 2-1, it's game on. And whereas it could have been out of sight, Treaty are really back in with a shout. And then the sending off, I don't know what your thoughts on the sending off are. Personally, I thought it was a bit harsh. I know other people are thinking it was a definite red. I thought it was a bit harsh given he won the ball and I'm not sure who the Waterford player was fouled, but he was a couple of yards away from. What were your thoughts, first of all, on the sending off?
Well, I thought the sending off itself was harsh. Conroy does win the ball. He does catch our Korea at the end, but first and foremost, he's won the ball, and he can't anticipate that that Wasim's going to be there. That being said, I thought the referee Damien McGrath really didn't have a grip of the game. There was lots of fouls that went in earlier on that he really let go, and I think partially he is to blame for letting the game get to that point where look, he was a bit out of control, but I think as far as the sending off goes, it is a bit harsh.
Gavin, the reason I say about the game, it was kind of turned on its head after that because Junior then put the ball into the net 2 minutes later, and Waterford 3-1 up, and then they get the goal in the last couple of minutes to make it 4-1. The OG from Gearan. Waterford, they're going into the game then on Friday night comfortable, really, or sorry, Saturday night comfortable. 3-goal lead, but Treaty came out of blocks, didn't they? And obviously Mark Ludden got the penalty in the 9th minute, and then they were kind of hit with a sucker punch. Savawale got the equaliser, and then Ludden again scored a penalty in the 26th, and Devitt then scored in the 29th. So it's 3-1 at half time in the second leg to Treaty, and it's definitely game on, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, Keith. And I mean, I was keeping an eye on Flash score, and I was saying, geez, this could be the surprise that I wouldn't expect. But like we've said this about Treaty all season, they're kind of, I've mentioned, I think they're like a licorice all-star team. Like, you really don't know what you're going to get out of them. And, like we all said, a 4-1, and I'm sure even Sean said this, like, with a 4-1 lead after the first leg, you're thinking, look, Waterford are going to get another 3 or 4. And, you kind of alluded to the fact that, this could be a hockey score, over the 2 legs. But like, what a surprise to go 3-1 up, Treaty. And I was looking and I was saying, is this the Treaty that, when they turn up can upset teams? And when I see it 3-1, I was saying, this is a huge surprise. And I was kind of looking, I was saying, will Treaty get a 4th goal out of this? Because they were flying, like. But I suppose, like, it's like I've said and you've said, and Sean's not going to say it outright, but quality always stands out in the end, So you have to give credit to Waterford for that.
Yeah, Sean, we thought it was game on, 3-1. Then 3 minutes after half time, Waterford get a penalty, and it's back to 3-2. And then probably the man of the moment, Phoenix Patterson, then makes it 3-all in the 54th minute. And from there, there's probably no way back really for Treaty after that, is there? Their heads would have dropped.
You could see it on the pitch that their heads dropped after that. All the spark and fire in the first half that they had was gone after that. I think there was a bit of naivety on our part. I thought, it's a funny criticism you have when your team is playing football and you're giving out about it, but we really shouldn't have. We really should have just, known, Treaty are going to come out of the blocks and they're going to try and get 3 goals. All we have to do is defend, and we didn't do that. Our fullbacks were pushed like very high up the field, and not to rag on him too much, but Richie Taylor himself will know he didn't have a good game and made a few errors defensively. He wasn't the only one, by the way, but when he came off and Alex Baptiste came on, he calmed the team down and we got far more organised, and then in the end we did have too much for Treaty.
Hey, Gavin, it seemed like a bit of a masterclass in Tommy Barrett, and he's done it a couple of times this season. I mean, Enda Curran started on the bench, who had scored Treaty's only goal the other night. But to go 3-1 up, and then obviously it ends 3-all. Waterford win the tie 7-4 in aggregate. Comfortable, but do you think the sending off in the first game overall made the tie more comfortable for Waterford, or do you think they may have, if there wasn't a sending off, they may have won the game anyway, 4-1, 5-1, or whatever?
Oh, I don't think so, Keith. Especially like in a game like that, I know this is going to sound a bit stupid, but like you need your 11 men, and Sean said he thought it was a bit harsh, and like I think in general, if you look at any tackle, I think if you win the ball first, and unfortunately sometimes there can be a follow through depending on how the tackle goes, and you might end up catching with somebody afterwards, you might get connected with their foot, but there's no intention. Your intention is to win the ball. So like if you win the ball first, it shouldn't be a red card. There's no way. So whatever the ref saw, it was quite disappointing from that. And I'd say from that point of view, then Treaty's heads obviously dropped, because it's tough enough as it is against a quality Waterford team, but to be down to 10 men against them, you're really against it. You're really up against it then after that. So I genuinely think it would have definitely made a difference. And you have to give credit to Treaty then for coming up the second leg and going 3-1 up. But like I said the other day, like, that it could have been a huge score, but at the same time, Treaty could have done what they done against Derry. And by the looks of the second leg, I think if they had 11 men in the first, it would have been a different game. So, probably, unfortunately, the referee probably spoiled it from that point of view. But look, as I said, I think no matter what, I think Waterford deserve to be in the playoff final anyway,
Yeah, again, fair play to Tommy Barr and his team. Another playoff. I know they're out. It's no consolation for that, but and a cup semi-final. What impressed me, Sean, with Waterford, particularly in the first leg, is that after they went 3-1 up, they didn't settle on that score, and they went and they went and they went again, and they were looking for the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth. Eventually, they got the fourth in the last minute, but that impressed me. And that fourth goal, it looks,
turned out to be vital.
It
turned out to be vital in the end,
yeah,
because
I was just going to say that it turned out to be vital, because it kind of gave them that little bit of an extra edge going into the match the other night. Guys, 7-4 again looks like a good scoreline, but doesn't suggest that everything that happened over the two legs. Guys, thanks very much for watching. We're going to do a preview show for Waterford Galway in the next couple of days, so stay tuned for that. Hit the bell notification. Let us know what you think of the two games, and we'll talk to you in a couple of days. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Lads.